Hello, everybody.
Hi,
Hi, everybody.
hi.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome. And
Ooh.
we're having a multi-sensory experience today.
Yes, we are.
So, all of you
Adjust
were
your
told.
screens.
All of you were told that it was on my channel today, but it's on my channel, Avana's channel, Shari's channel, Val's channel, Marina's channel, and Allyson's channel, and Heather's working on it. And so we welcome all of you from all of the channels. Yeah.
Yay! One big happy family.
Isn't technology wonderful? I know, isn't it wonderful? Yeah. So
Yes,
yes, we're ready to go today.
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. Welcome to those in my chat and to other chats. We don't really have a way of knowing whose chat somebody is in. The only way I knew last night that someone was in Linda's chat was because she has a subscription and it had the little subscription moniker on it. So I knew that that was one of hers. But, oh, yeah, we got 20 people here now. There we go. There we go.
Excellent.
All right.
Yeah, I think that
Okay.
the way that it works is if someone else is coming, let's say one of Sherry's viewers comes in, their name will pop up and they'll have that little link icon, looks like a paper clip. So that's when you know.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Okay.
Yeah. So
that's true. Yeah. Awesome. So what we should tell you is if you are if you're multiple subscribers to our channels, and you want, Shari did this last night. She went on to our channels and just clicked the thumbs up button. And also you'll be able to subscribe to these lovely people's channels because you'll see where to go to get there. So yeah. Wow. Excellent. Excellent. Wow. So welcome everybody. And thank you all for being here. It was my week and it was Val's week and she switched with me because I had to step away next week. But thank you, Val, for that. And I picked the topic today with my sisters here of a book that meant a lot to you for your spiritual growth, or even if it's just not even a spiritual book, but it's a book that meant a lot to you. And so I'm going to let Avana go first because she has to leave. And so she has something else to do. So I'm going to let her talk first. And there you go.
Okay.
For it.
All right. Thank you. Well, the book that I picked for tonight is called The Emerald Tablet, Alchemy for Personal Transformation. And it is by, I'm going to say Dennis William Hawk. I don't know. H-A-U-C-K. As you can see, I have marked like multiple pages.
I was going to say, wow, you're organized.
Well, not organized, but this is going to be good because this is going to be so helpful. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what page I'm supposed to look at. But just to look, just to talk about it, this talks about.
Let me get you over there.
That's fine. This talks about the 7
I'm trying to get you there. There you go.
There you go. Okay. It talks about the 7 steps, of course, for your personal transformation based on the Emerald Tablets. And the first step is called calcination. I'll just go through the 7 steps very quickly. It's called calcination. This is where you actually wake up and you realize that you've outgrown maybe the current place where you are in your life. And I think we've all maybe have been there. I know I hit that place a few years ago and I just said, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. So that's the first step. The second step is called dissolution. This is where you actually start to burn off and dissolve the ego. The third step is separation, identifying your essence. This is continuing to discard what is no longer relevant to yourself. The fourth step is conjunction, creating the overself. This is actually creating a new belief system that is less tied to conventional like wisdom and more in line with your higher self. The fifth step is fermentation, which is called fire in the soul. This actually represents the death card in the tarot. And this is not a physical death, but like a psychological death that you may be having at that point. Where your personality is actually now reborn in a new psychic center, in a new you're like reborn. You've gone through these steps and you're really getting to that 7th step. Step 6 is distillation. This is again the repeated separation and recombination of the subtle and the gross aspects of the personality that continues to bring yourself into your true soul. And then the last step is called coagulation, which is the ultimate material of your soul. This is basically where you really get into the basic message of what the emerald tablets are about. And basically what this all it's like they talk about, like, in the emerald tablets, like, this is such a simple message, but it's just so hard to do, right? I mean, really just getting to your true self and dissolving your ego and really finding out what interests you and what you want to do and move forward. And one of the sentences that kind of go ahead.
I just said wonderful. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things, really, just to kind of wrap it up, it says Earth and all of us here are part of an experiment simply concerned to restore the delights of our primal paradise, to enable men, if they will, to inhabit a world of joy and splendor. And that's basically what it is. Just taking yourself, like the alchemy card, like the balance. What is that card in the tarot?
Temperance.
That's exactly what. And it's taking it and taking your soul, where you start out like with a soul of lead, and you transform it into like a gold soul. You know, your soul is like now golden, and you just keep burning off like the dross and burning off everything you don't need until you actually come up and rise up. It's a constant process. Happens on different levels for different things. Once you do it in one area, you're going to have other areas to do it. But it really, this book, like I say, it just really interested me. And the only thing I will tell you is it's very small words. Reading. It took a long time for me to read through it, but I totally enjoyed it. And,
that's great. How long ago did you read it? How long ago was it that you read it?
I just got done with it a few months ago. It took me like 2 months to read, and I just finished it like 2 months ago. So it hasn't been too long.
Excellent.
But I really enjoyed it.
See, and somebody was just telling me, I think it was Heather, that the tablets came up in a conversation, and somebody was like, "Oh, you need to talk to Ivana. She's got a book on it."
Yes. That probably was me. Yeah, someone brought it up.
I think it was you.
There's actually another one, the Emerald Tablets by Billy Carson, that is out there as well. Yes.
I have that.
I haven't read that one yet, but yeah. Oh, awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. So that's my book.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Now I have Audible.
You stay as
yes, I can stay for a while. So absolutely.
Okay. Stay as long as you want and leave when you need to. All right.
Yeah, Avana is our
let's see.
Emerald Tablet guru.
You're in the hot seat, Valerie.
You're muted.
But you're frozen.
You're muted. You're muted.
I'll hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. You're muted, Val.
All I said is my book is My Life in Tibet. And this is a very old book. Very, very old. But this started my journey, and it was very profound for me. This is from 1930, well, actually 1910, 1930, 39 is when he had it copyrighted, and it is Ding Le May, which his English name is Edwin John Dingle, and he started mental physics, which is still going to this day in Joshua Tree, California. But my mother had this book in the bookshelf when I was a little girl, and I used to pick it up and thumb through it. And then when I was 21 years old, I asked my Mom, can I have this book?
Oh.
And then I started to read it. And something triggered a spiritual awakening inside of me, where this man went to China. He was there for 21 years, but he ended up meeting a man who would show up and just tell him about his life and say, you need to go to Tibet and go here. And finally, after seeing him a few times, he really followed this guy's instructions. And he ended up, getting very ill and almost dying on the trip trying to get to this monastery in Tibet. But what happened is the spiritual master. And from that point on, it was like I wasn't in my body and it was happening to me. So when a big gong would sound, it reverberated through my body.
Wow.
Like that.
Wow.
And I just had all these profound experiences, like it was me going through it. So then this morning I channeled Edward John Dingley May, and I asked him, what was that about? And he said,
Oh, wow.
I lived those experiences in Tibet. That I experienced the tools of spiritual awakening within that triggered me to my resonance with the many lifetimes I spent in Tibet. They reverberated through you, brought you huge shifts and awakenings. This was a trigger for you, not by me, but through me, as facilitated by that book. It is a profound set of coincidences, is it not? Because it was in my bookshelf.
It was sitting there waiting for you.
Yeah.
It up and
Yeah.
Finally, 21 years old, and I'm reading it. He had died 3 years before I started reading it. So very strange, but anyway. So
I love that.
it really talks about his journey and all the things that he went through as a spiritual adept and as a Buddhist, Tibetan Buddhist monk.
I'm going to have to read it.
It's just, it was amazing. And
So his name is Dingle. Okay. And it's My Journey in Tibet? My Journey in Tibet?
It's actually My Life in Tibet by Edwin John Dingle. Now there are some, although it's not in print anymore, that you can find them. It's also from a series called Borderlands of Eternity. And the Borderlands of Eternity, you might find, it's a 2-book series where one part is about his journey in China, and the other is the spiritual journey part. But My Life in Tibet took out the second part and made it its own book because everybody wanted it. But let me just say, Mental Physics, you can go on their website today, and it is about breath work, pranayama. It is about the sacred breath and exercises you do, and it will knock your socks off. When I was a little girl, my dad and my mom belonged to Mental Physics in LA before they moved to Joshua Tree. And what happened was my dad started to go out of the body when he was doing the breath. He said, that's it, I'm not doing this anymore.
I was just going to
Scared
ask
him.
if that helps with astral travel, and Dad just answered my question.
I like it, just flying over.
Dads are so funny like that.
If you started to lift up out of your body and all you were doing was the breath. Anyway.
That's cool.
Oh, wow. So Oil Painter was asking, is this the one that was made into a movie with Brad Pitt? And I thought that was 7 years in Tibet. I'm not sure it's the same.
That's
same
not
one.
at all. That was about the Dalai Lama thing. This is not the Dalai Lama. This is an English gentleman that was born in late 1800s. And I have his bio with me, but I forgot it. So
that's okay.
Basically, he made his way to China because he had a lifelong draw to go there. And he ended up spending 21 years there. So you can imagine his pull to get there was, for a reason. And yeah.
Awesome.
Anyway.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
That was very interesting. Very interesting.
I'll just interrupt you guys real quick if I can. Bora Bora was asking, is there one channel that everyone, that the chat is on? And just for you guys that came in later on, this is a new thing that YouTube is doing. So Ally is our host. However, we are all able to stream this directly to our own channels. So I'm
not sure about all the chat. Yeah.
So it's absolutely wonderful. I think it's fantastic. And hello to everyone that's here who have had a chance to say hi. Okay, that was my my little PSA.
That was your 2 cents. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, and so it makes it easy also for you all to know who is here. If you would like to be a subscriber to other channels, this gives everybody an opportunity to do that. You're missing interacting, Lisa. You should be able to interact. I think that because I'm the host of this, that it is all the chat is on my channel, most of it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure though. But
yeah, because I
think it's StreamYard, but on YouTube, I'm only seeing my chat on my channel. I have to go to one of y'all's channels to see your chat.
Yeah,
but on StreamYard chat, we're seeing all of
it. But I'm seeing all of it. So I think because I'm hosting it, and everybody's sort of added on that this is the one.
It's something brand new, so there's bugs in it. We're going to have to work out, to see how it works best. So
as with anything.
But it is a nice way for us to do this. Yeah, so we don't have to keep switching channels all the time. So, all right. So, Marina, since you've been talking, let's have you go next. There you go.
All righty.
All right.
Before I get into this, I do want to say very special thank you. Look at this.
Pretty.
Oh, I love that.
And it matches her background.
Yeah.
Yes, and it matches the background. Amanda Carroll sent me this.
Oh, Amanda, that's so nice.
Absolutely
one of my favorites.
So,
yes.
Yeah, it has been my my coffee cup since a couple days ago when I received it. So, and it couldn't have been any more perfect. So
very pretty.
So Amanda, thank you again.
Wow, what a wonderful gift.
Yes, absolutely. So the book that kind of changed things for me, and I don't have a copy of it anymore. I think it's still in production. It was called The Third Eye by Lobsang Rampa. And it came out in 1956. It was published in the UK. And there was a good deal of controversy, actually, with the book, because it was discovered that, this fellow had apparently never been to Tibet, where this is sort of coming from. He was actually a plumber from England by the name of Cyril Henry Hoskin. There was, however, a lot of really good information that he had in the book. And it's kind of a story about a monk that goes traveling. He's going to a particular monastery in Tibet and the things that happen along the way. He talks in there about the quote unquote procedure that he had done to him to open up his third eye, and described the landscape and different things. He also, that was the first time that I was introduced to astral travel and sort of his process to get into it and whatnot. I really, really found the book very, very insightful in terms of, Mary said, Forever by Lobsang. He actually...
And she just picked it up today. She
picked
it up again today.
Wow. Yes. Yeah, he actually wrote several books on different things that were all sort of related to Tibet and this monk identity that he took on as I think it was Tuesday Lobsang Rampa was the name. He took it to several publishers and was turned down. And the one publishing company that said, okay, we'll do it, when it was released, boom, it just went globally. It was quite the bestseller. So what got me, as I said, in there was that it was an introduction to spirituality in a very sort of matter-of-fact, non-threatening way. It was presented as, of course, you too can do this. You can, astral projection, you could do some astral traveling and so on. So, yeah, that was kind of the book that really, really resonated with me. And I think I know my mother read it first and then passed it down to me. And I think I was like in my late teens when I read it. So,
do you know if it was channeled?
According to him, he said that it was. According to the people, his critics, it was no. Some said the range was from this is the most profound book ever written to this is nothing but just someone's imagination. So somewhere in the middle, I think, is the truth. And if you read the book for yourself, if it resonates with you, then yes, we channel the information.
I like that because it's your resonance with the truth of what the book is.
Yes, yeah.
That's the value. That's what you're getting.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was my sort of awakening. My other favorite, and I'll just mention it very quickly, my other all-time favorite book is Gulliver's Travels by Jonathan Swift.
Love that.
Love the messages in that book.
Wow, now I'm getting all these other ideas now.
Perfect.
I was thinking spiritual.
I love it because I'm a literature teacher. And
yeah, there's a lot of stuff. You could do a whole university course on just Gulliver's Travels. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, I know you could. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. That's right. Yeah. Thank you, Marina.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. Oh, very nice. I find it interesting that the first three of you actually, well, Avana, you didn't say it wasn't a Buddhist text necessarily, but Val and you both picked Buddhist in a way. And it just warms my heart because, I love it. Yeah, I love it.
Allie, are you a practicing Buddhist or Buddhism?
Yeah, pretty much. I like to follow. I like to follow. Yeah.
I did not know that. I learned something new about you. Awesome.
I know.
I guess it's my turn.
I guess it's your turn, Sharon.
I looked up and I was big. I went, whoa. I've always been a voracious reader, someone that Allie would have dug out on if she'd have been my teacher. I mean, we would go to the library once a week, and me, my mother, and my brother would walk out with a stack of books, this high. By the time I was 12, my mom was checking adult books out for me in the adult section because I'd already read everything in the children's section and was bored with it. I was just an advanced reader. And throughout my younger years, because I didn't really know or understand about any of this, I didn't really read anything on it. I mean, I mostly read fiction, mysteries, murder mysteries, romance, this, that, and the other. I mean, just a little bit of everything. And then when I was in college, one of my psych classes, there was a book that one of my professors had us read. And I cannot remember the name of that book to save my soul. I have looked everywhere for it and can't find it. But basically, it's the retelling the story of Jesus, but like in modern day. And it's about this man wanders into town and he buys a little house and he sets up a shop and he's just polite and nice to everybody. And, somebody has something that breaks or they need something built. He's the first one right there to do it, doesn't charge any money, doesn't ask for anything in return. And it's like everybody in this town falls in love with this man because he's just so warm and loving and giving. And and never asked for anything in return, just to give more. And somewhere along the lines, jealousy reared its ugly head, and people started getting jealous of this man. And they started accusing him of things and calling him names, and basically ran him out of town by the end of the book. And I just remember reading it, and it made a profound, it really hit me strong that, it's because religion and any of that stuff, nothing like that was ever mentioned in the book. So unless you knew a little bit of Christianity and what it taught, you wouldn't have known that it even was referring to that kind of lifestyle. But it was just all about this good-hearted man who just did for others unquestionably without asking for anything in return. And it really impacted me because of the way it was written. It was written in a very here and now. I mean, it was written probably 50 years ago, back when I was in college, 50 years before. So, but it was written in such a way that it would fit today's society.
Yeah.
The way it was written. And it just really struck me, and it always kind of stuck with me. And years later, I tried to go back and find that book, and I can't find it anywhere. I've run into old classmates and asked them, do you still have a copy of that book? And they're like, oh, no, I can't. I don't remember what happened to that book. It's like all of us, the book just kind of disappeared. Nobody knows where the book went. Nobody can find it. That I've run into old classmates on that. And then when I was in Phoenix, shortly after the experience of discovering my guides, when they jumped out of the picture and introduced themselves to me, and I didn't quite know what to do about that and what that meant. But I found this book, and it's very trite, I'm sure, for a lot of people, The Secret.
Oh.
And I started reading, and it was like, the more I read it, the more just the more kind of gobsmacked I was. I kept saying throughout the book, I would stop and say, why did no one ever tell me this before? Why am I just now finding this out in my 40s and my 50s? It's like, what, why was this never mentioned? And I got my mother to read it as well, and she was just as gobsmacked as I was by it, so that was kind of cool, because we would both be like, wow, I never heard it put that way before. Never thought of it that way before. And so, yeah, I mean, those are the two. And now I'm slowly reading other books that, just to try to gain more knowledge of what it is that's opened up to me, to get a better understanding of it. Which is why the topic of the Emerald Tablet came up, and Heather was saying, oh, you got to talk to Avana. She's got that book. So now I can go back and I can see exactly what the book looks like. I go look for it. And, so yeah, I mean, I'm just real open to whatever, whatever I get my hands on. Of course, I'm in Ally's book club now, and we just finished a really good book, and I've started on the other one, and it's, I'm really enjoying it. So,
good.
I'm hoping to rediscover or to discover a new aspects of myself that I didn't realize had been lost. And maybe it'll help me come to grips with some of the things, some of the gifts that are opening up to me that I'm not quite sure how to handle and deal with it, so it's a little overwhelming at times. But so that's usually when I tell my guides, okay, back off. You're freaking me out right now. And generally they do. So, but it's just a one day at a time thing. And so thank you, Ally.
Amanda Carroll, you're welcome. Thank you, Shari. Amanda Carroll just said thank you all for sharing the books that you are either reading or that you have read that mean so much to you. Sometimes, we hesitate to look at something new or different or in a different genre. And it's so nice to know that there are other places you can go in order to, find interesting things, whether that be fiction or nonfiction. So, hello, Allyson, it's your turn, but put on your speaker.
Thank you. I took the email that we got very literal. The what book influenced your spiritual growth and why? So I picked that book. Because I do. There's so many books like many of you that I could have picked from. I've read so many since it all started. But and just being perfectly honest, the catalyst, the book that it started it all, was a Sylvia Browne book.
It
was Life on the Other Side.
Very cool.
And I got it when I was pregnant with my son. I was probably about 7 months pregnant, and I got it, and I literally laid down in the bedroom and I read it cover to cover. I read it in a day. I just devoured it because it was so interesting. And any of you that have ever read anything Sylvia Browne, it's very simple the way it's written, so it's so easy to read. And I absolutely loved it. And up until that point, I had, like, my sister's a medium, and I had read a fair amount about astrology. Not that I know a ton about it, but that's really all I had done. And I was always very curious of my sister's gifts, but I hadn't really done much else. And then once I read this book, it just opened up all kinds of interests, like anything spiritual, whatever. I mean, my bookcases are just so diverse on everything. But it started with this one. And I don't know if any of you have read anything about her. In the end, she ended up with a pretty bad rap and a reputation and everything else. But her earlier books, personally, I found very valuable. I got a lot out of them. I didn't watch her on television and all that stuff. I know she was on TV. And her books ended up getting really watered down and this, that, whatever. But that's not what this is about. The book that I read, Life on the Other Side, and I read so many of her books, but this is still one that I really enjoy. And plus, it's just a good memory reading it. But I got so much out of it, and it spurred so many more questions. And she just talked about, like, what it's like. This is, she had, basically channeled information from her main guide, right? And it was about, what happens when you die, about religion, what death is, what happens once you finally do get to the other side, your life, planning your life, your blueprint, the Akashic records, like all of that. And it was just so fascinating, and meeting up with your family on the other side, and and it was just super, super interesting. And that just opened up a floodgate for me. And I read many of her books, and there were other authors I was looking at. And then, like I said, I just went in all kinds of different directions. I got really interested in numerology not too long after that. And just one other thing to add about Sylvia Browne, this book of hers is something that's very different from a lot of the stuff she did. And I love this book. I don't need it anymore, but for anybody that's new to spirituality, or they in general, this book is called Phenomenon. Oh, it's so reflective you can't even see it. Here we go, Phenomenon. And it's basically a dictionary of sorts.
Oh.
So it's category A to Z. And she defines in her definition all of these things. I'll just say a couple really quickly, just randomly, like in the A's, angels, astral projection, astrology, Atlantis, asna, in the B's, and there's a million A's, a banshee, a bleed through. What's a bleed through? Who is the boogeyman? And it's A through Z, all these categories, and it's very cool. And there has been a couple times that I had to look something up. I don't want to talk about her because, again, she got so whatever, but, she was very gifted, very knowledgeable until I feel she abused her gift. So her earlier books, I still find very valuable.
Yes.
And I love them, and I'll never give them up. I function my bookshelf like every year or so and get rid of anything I don't think I'm ever going to read again, or if I haven't read it yet, or if somebody else would benefit from it. And I've really whittled down her books, but I have like 6 or 7 of them that I will always have. And but anyways, this one, Phenomenon, you ever come across it like on a used book sale or whatever, get it. It's absolutely worth having.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
People can check their local libraries. Usually once or twice a year, they'll have a clearance where you can go in and buy books
those are
for
great.
50 cents or $1 or something. That's
true.
Yeah, that's why I got some of my Nancy Drew books.
Oh yeah,
I love Nancy
Drew.
Drew. I have.
I read
So
those.
does anybody know? Does anybody know if she predicted the pandemic? Somebody was asking.
I read that she
I
did.
don't know which one.
She
did. She had it mostly right, but she did say that it would disappear as quickly as it arose. But other than that, she described that it would be respiratory, that it would show up, that it would spread all over the place, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, it's in one of the books. You could Google it. You could find it if you Google it.
Wow.
Which book it was in.
Wow. All right. Well, thank you, Allyson. Very nice.
All right, ladies, I'm going to take off.
Surprise, you're it.
All right. Thanks, honey.
Bye, Anna.
Bye, Anna.
Oh, my turn. So, geez, now that everyone's been sharing their books, and I'm like, well, I didn't think of that, and I didn't think of this, but as y'all just heard, when I was younger, I had to be held back a year because I had some issues with reading. And so during summer school, we had one of those bookmobiles pull up to the school I was going to, and they had these books by, and it was called Nancy Drew.
Yeah.
And by the end of the summer, I was reading a book a day. So for me, what I loved about Nancy Drew was the mysteries, the paranormal, all that good stuff. It was, a young woman. She was, in charge of her. I mean, it was just like my first little shot of female independence. So I actually have Nancy Drews from 1929, 1932, some in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And what's really cool too is when you go through the art and they see the difference of the clothing of the time, the hairstyles. It's fabulous. So got to get a shout out to Nancy Drew, Carolyn King. But when it comes to spirituality, I saw somebody mention in the chat really quick a little while ago, Shirley MacLaine's Out on a Limb. And that's the first time I learned about astral travel because my mom was interested in that. And I remember trying to do her exercise to get out of, and I couldn't do it. I'm like, this doesn't work. So I gave up on that. But for me, my spirituality really started to awaken when I was getting into college, being, different world than high school. And, you're going to a place where you meet people of all different ideas, cultures, spiritualities. And I don't have, it's so hard to, just pinpoint, where to start. But I think I don't have it anymore because when I moved to Arizona and I was looking for work, I had to sell a lot of my books to a local store for money for food. So I don't have a lot of copies of these books anymore. But one of the very first books was Women in Religion. And it was actually written and taught by the college professor. She had her doctorate, and she was a Franciscan nun. And she taught us, and a lot of students left her class, and a lot of students every week would argue with her. But she wrote a book that took an honest view of how women were treated in every patriarchal religion. And she even started the book by teaching us about Wicca and goddess worship. So for this woman in her 70s to be that forward, to be that, I mean, it made me feel more comfortable following, and looking into paganism and Wicca and the goddess movement. Books that I have that I don't have any longer, books by Starhawk. She was a major women's live feminism goddess movement. I believe starting in the 60s, 70s, her books, Dancing the Spiral. it's been a while, so there's some books I can't quite remember the exact titles, but Starhawk. There were books by who else was I introduced to? So getting out of high school, I was raised Catholic, so I figured I was pretty open. You know, my mom was interested in psychic readings. She had a friend who was a psychic, and had tarot card readings and stuff. But I was always told that anything with witch or witchcraft was of course, the devil and whatnot. So when my friend Julie said, "I want to tell you something I'm learning about, but I don't want you to freak out," I'm like, "Okay." And I told her, and she goes, "Well, I knew you were going to freak out." But the books she gave me was The Truth About Witchcraft by Scott Cunningham. And I always recommend any book by Scott Cunningham because he's very ethical. He breaks down the history. He explains what the concept of God, goddess, how, you know, everything kind of got turned upside down and, you know, by, you know, mainstream religions. And I don't want to get on a soapbox and preachy, but he just kind of laid out the grounds of what really Wicca, witchcraft is all about and how it's all connected to nature. So I do have still a couple of his books. This one here too is a great resource. And like I said, I really like Scott Cunningham because he was always very ethical. A lot of books at that time, except for Silver Raven Wolf, To Ride a Silver Broomstick. That was one of the ones that I started with too, because she actually made you answer questions about why are you interested? What do you think how your life will benefit? It wasn't all jumping in and casting spells and circles. And, you know, for me, a lot of authors at that time and still are, you know, just very focused on power over doing, you know, making people, you know, fall in love with you. It's very unethical in a lot of other books. So for me, Scott Cunningham, you know, Silver Raven Wolf, I had a little bit of a falling out of favor with, but I do have one of her books on angels. She helped me actually bring and understand that angels did not belong solely to Christianity, and how we can bring them into our ritual, our daily life, our magical life. And another one too that I haven't read this in years, and it was regifted to me last year, so I haven't had a chance to read it. But if you can, go to your local library, Women Who Run with the Wolves.
Yeah.
By Clarissa Pinkola Estes. She
one of the best books I've ever read.
Yes.
Yep.
She goes through and she covers and breaks down mythologies, folklore of women, and just showing the metaphors and what it represented, and how like I said, it's been a while since I read it, but it just basically shows you, just like Dr. Ferguson's class showed you, how women were perceived through mythologies, folklore. So it was an eye opener, and I remember putting it down and just being so angry, not, you know, at her, but just about, you know, the things that, you know, the stories represented. But now that I'm older, I'll probably take a look back at that. But for me, those are, and I know I'll think of a few others later on, but those would be the ones for me.
Awesome.
Starting, you know, and helping me along. And of course, things change. You know, sometimes you come into books. Lynn B. Andrews was also big in my 20s. How much people, you know, consider, some say she's fiction, but she's a white woman that was trained to be a shamaness by two Native women from Canada. I think Marina, somewhere in your area, is the Cree people.
Yep.
Her medicine women were Cree. There's a little bit of, you know, feeling about her series of books, because some people feel cultural appropriation, but yet she still stands saying that she did learn these things from these women, and she was meant to write the books and to do the, you know, the workshops and the teachings. So that was also because I was very connected to Native American spirituality growing up.
Yes.
So not
Excellent.
keeping us too longer, but that would be my, you know,
your
choices.
They're beautiful. And people are still writing what they are have so much enjoyed as well here in the chat. And I appreciate that. I think, and a lot of them are, it's so hard to nail down one book. There is, all of us could probably give you maybe 200 books. I don't know, maybe not that many. In my life, I've probably read well over 5,000 books, but I am just beginning to reread them now, because when you reread a book, you have a different experience. It's like a brand new book for you.
Yeah.
And so the one book that I have always recommended to everybody, save bar none ever, is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And it isn't a book that told me about astrology, told me about, anything spiritual, but it was the most spiritual book I ever read, because it was about a man who was in Auschwitz, and he was not a healthy man. And he convinced them, I think he was probably 35 or 45, and he had a hernia, so he was wearing a truss, and he thought he'd be exterminated. The rest of his family was. And he chronicles somehow throughout his stay there, and he does miss death 5 or 6 times. But he chronicles what happened to him and how people lived, and what you didn't have to be strong to live. You had to have a spiritual basis for your life. And if you had that, then you were stronger than somebody who had a lot of brawn. The book was written in the 40s. And my daughter, who's a marriage and family counselor, that's her favorite book as well. And it's not happy stuff to read. It's not something that's enjoyable, because it's about the Holocaust and it's about how people were treating each other and everything. But it is the most profound book. And there's 2 sections to it. One is, it used to be called From Death Camp to Existentialism. And the first part is how he lived and was able to make it out of there. And the second part is a psychology that he formulated from his experience called logotherapy. And you don't necessarily have to read that part if you're not interested in it. And I don't think I ever have. But every time I read it, I learn something else. I learn something new. And it's probably the most profound. Like I said, there's tons and tons of books I could recommend. But in this way, this book really, really impacted me and has impacted my students, because I usually make them read it as well. And so just one of those people that, we talk a lot about death, and this is about death, but it's also about life. So it's kind of cool that way. I do want to say that for those of you who are interested in goddess work, there's a fabulous book that came out in the 90s called The Alphabet versus the Goddess. And it's by a man named Leonard Shlain, Schlain. And it talks about how we were the boss until the advent of writing came along. And then we became a more patriarchal society. It's very, very good. It's very, very good. I also recommend anybody that is interested in wanting to read old fiction to read anything by W. Somerset Maugham. He wrote Of Human Bondage, and it's absolutely wonderful. It's quite the story. It's quite the story. But there's so many. I couldn't, I'd be here for weeks just talking about it. But that's why I picked this topic. And that's why I felt that it would be so much fun to hear what reading meant to you ladies and you in the chat. And a lot of the books that you've read I'm going to find the one Val talked about. I'm going to find the one Marina talked about. And I have read some of what Allyson talked about and Heather talked about. And Shari, I've read The Secret, but it was you that had The Secret, right? But it's so nice to get
the other book that I want to find, the one that I can't remember the name of. I can't find. Several people
You'll find it
all thrown out. It's not it, because I know when I see it, it'll click and I'll recognize it immediately. It will click.
But I do notice that that somebody mentioned Wayne Dyer, and he is absolutely one of my very favorites. And
Yes.
yeah.
He used to always say that
There's
he
so
would wake
many.
up at 3 in the morning because the breeze had something to say. And he would get up and start writing his books all out by hand around 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
around
it.
3 o'clock.
I have a
Poor
favorite
Heather
meme
froze.
that I know because we talk a lot about and what with Allie was finishing up with and everything with men, how men managed to take away the power of women who were so very powerful because of what we were able to do. And I have it. It's just a little funny for everybody to stick in the back of their memory. I have a little meme that says, after all human history, men should be glad we only want equality and not payback.
Yes.
You know? And every time I've ever posted that, I get a lot of laughter and a lot of good response out of it. So Heather is froze.
I know,
God.
poor Heather. Yeah.
Hopefully
She'll probably come back.
Also wanted to mention today, what is special about today? It's March 22nd. And I don't know about you guys, but I woke up this morning with such a peaceful calmness that it was like, oh.
Didn't Jupiter move or something last night?
Sorry?
Wasn't it Jupiter changed signs or something? One of them changed signs yesterday during the spring equinox.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was probably Saturn going into Pisces.
Okay, I knew I heard astrologers talking about it, but
And the sun moved into Aries. I mean, for me, it feels awesome, but I'm an Aries, so and it does feel different.
Right.
Well, I'm an Aries rising, so yeah.
Yeah, and my Venus is an Aries. I mean, I really legitimately, because I don't pick up a lot of stuff, I can tell when it's Aries season. I really can.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean,
Anyway, Marina, what is it?
Aquarius moon, but
What
I'm
is
an
it?
Aries rising, so.
Sorry?
Yeah. What is it? Is it Ostara? Is that what it is today? The 22nd?
Oh, no. It's Heaven's Cross.
Oh, Heaven's
March.
Cross. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Today
it's also Nowruz, or Nowruz, or however they pronounce it, which is the Muslim holiday. And
yeah.
So
this is
it's a very busy 2-day period.
Yes.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah. And it's I know Val and I talked about it on messages for light workers, that this is now a time that there's a man and he is, let's see, Crimson Circle, and he is, I think he channels Adamus and Saint Germain, and his his the message of Saint Germain is March 22nd. This is really when the veil that's kind of between humanity and the other side really lifts, and it doesn't come back. So it's a way for us to absolutely step forward, right, into the gifts that we have, into the gifts that everyone has, right? The only difference between me and anybody out on the street is I just practice more often. That's it. But everyone has these gifts, and it's tuning into your spirituality and whatnot. So I know Val and I were feeling it probably the early part of March, where it was just such a vibrational shift. And today was nice and calm. So,
and it is the new year.
Wow.
Yes.
I mean,
that's true.
What's truly the new year.
Yes.
It really is.
Yeah. So lots and lots of great things.
So I have a question.
I
have a question, ladies. My husband sent me a email this morning, and he said, this is a question for spirit. I said, okay. He said, what's going on? He said, they're trying to get rid of TikTok, and Trump is taking too long another TikTok. And I said, it's because time is an illusion. I was reading that, but I'd love to get your feeling on it, because there's the TikTok that they're trying to get rid of here in the United States, and then TikTok on the Orange Man. Anybody? What do you think?
I something not exactly to answer you, but if anything's going to happen to him this week, it's probably going to be tomorrow, numerology wise.
Okay. Numerology.
Just want to throw that out there.
I love that they waited.
5 days are about drama and chaos, and tomorrow's a 5 day. So.
Well, he had his people all ginned up and ready to go for Tuesday, and so they were like,
"I love it.
We're not doing it today."
He is sweating. He is sweating bullets.
He's flipping out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can smell the fear on him.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why you can. A lot of the things that are happening now that I think, oh my gosh, this is just distractions. Like, the fact that China and Russia got together and had talks, and it's like, don't bother. You're trying to deflect. And what's really, I think, going on is with the shift in the energy, we have to do away with the things that no longer serve us. And one of the things that no longer serves us is this I mentality, and everything for me. So yes, the bank failures, of course they failed, and they should have failed, and they're supposed to fail. Is it something that's going to cause the financial network in the world to collapse? No. This is all a clearing of the things that are that have had the wrong focus on them, right? So same thing with why is Japan meeting with Zelensky and so on? Just
Wayne's got it right. Too bad it wasn't on Rosie O'Donnell's.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
The link.
So
what link do you want? Oh, okay. The link to the show. We're almost done, Heather. We're almost done. We got 3 minutes. Do you want to still come in? All right. Let me know. Okay. I just think that I don't know. Time is an illusion. It's a man-made construct, and so everything that's happening is already either happened or is going to happen or is happened in the past, and so there really isn't anything. There really isn't anything.
Yes, everything is now. There is no
correct
and present or future. There's only the present moment. So it's just your frequency.
And that's it.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right. So wonderful. So
like
everybody,
I don't know if you saw that or not.
Okay.
It would be what, 4:57 your time? Yeah.
Well,
and that's
very
much how I think a lot of people have felt, like they've just been rotting away, in this stagnation.
Right.
Not anymore, baby. Not anymore.
Nope.
I feel this too, Mary. Time is definitely, to me, speeding up. The days go right by, and I feel like I don't.
It's an hour.
I know it is. It is. It's amazing. But thank you, Heather. I'm sorry, dear. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
And thanks to everybody. Thanks to everybody that's here on all of our channels today. We tried something new, and I think we like it.
I tried to visit everybody's channel that it went up on, so I could thumbs up on them.
Yeah.
And make a comment.
Awesome. Yeah.
I think it can't hurt,
That's
right? So
no,
it can't. So we're going to try to do this so we don't have to worry about whose channel that we have to go to find the show during the week, and we can all stream. But the person that has the stream for the week will see all the chat, I believe, and not
Well,
everybody's.
we'll be responsible for setting up the stream to go live, whoever the host is.
Right.
And then getting the
Whoever the
link out
host
to
is.
everybody. And then everybody can click the link and then attach it to their social media. And other people, some people put, they stream to Facebook and Instagram and whatnot. So, if you've got those links active on your stuff, then I don't
you
see
can go
why
over
they
there.
can't make it active when we're sharing. Because
oh my God, we'll be sharing to 65 different sites. Wouldn't that be fun? Oh, thank you, everybody. Thank you for letting us know your favorite books this week. Thank you, everybody in the chat, for telling us your favorite books this week, too. And happy reading. Happy reading. Yes. Thank you, ladies. Love you, ladies.
All right.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.